Let's jump into today's episode. It's going to be a really important conversation for us to have, and that is 4 exit strategies to consider. And why is this important? I mean, we hear the phrase start with the end in mind because people who don't have a destination don't get anywhere. So, really thinking through your exits and then working hard to make your exits great, whatever they are. These are the 4 that Gary is going to share with you. Perhaps one of the most important things you can do as a business owner. Because if your practice sold for, let's say, for 500,000 versus your friend's practice sold for 4 million, do you want to be a friend or do you want to be you, right? I mean, in this case, 4
Take as
million
long
is
as you
eight.
like. Go ahead. Take your time.
Yeah. Do you want to make 4 million or do you want to make 500,000, right? So it's pretty obvious. So this idea of really thinking about your exit and how do you make it as amazing as it can be is going to be a really smart use of your time, especially for the practice owners who are listening to this practice. So Gary, take it away. What are the 4 exit strategies? Perhaps you can just start introducing them to us and then we'll dive deep.
Yep. Yeah. I want to start by framing the discussion. Um, I think that every practice owner should start thinking about an exit strategy the day they become a practice owner. Now, I
I
do
love
not
that.
believe that needs to keep you awake at night. So
Right.
the idea isn't that it's so dominant in your thinking that it causes you to toss and turn and not sleep at it. Not that at all. But here's why. Ultimately, a practice value. There's ways to determine practice valuation, and your goal should be to develop the most valuable practice possible. To increase the value of our practice. In our coaching work, in our Thriving Dentist coaching work, the work that I do with our clients, we have 2 very specific goals for every client, and 1 and 2. Number 1 is to increase your income every year, to having you make more income through following your passion of helping people have great oral health. And the number 2, to increase the value of your practice. And again, that should not be something that keeps you up at night, but we want to help you increase the value of your practice. A good way to think about that, Naren, is think about home improvements. Um, my wife and I recently did a significant remodel of our house. We have no intention to sell, uh, but we wanted to improve our house. It's a different house today than it was before. We're empty nesters. We've raised 4 kids here. It's now just Teresa and I. So we want to improve our house. We have no intention of selling. However, all the improvements we made do increase the value of our home significantly. And it should be the same thing with your practice. All the improvements you're making in your practice will increase the value of your practice, even if the idea of an exit is 20 years from now. Does that make sense, Naren?
Yes, Gary. No,
Absolutely.
the reason I think this makes a lot of sense is you're going to work anyways, right? So are you doing something to make your future better or not, right? So why not at least just think about what do you need to do today to make the future better? Because now the future that you're going to have is a $4 million exit versus a $500,000 exit.
Well, and also frame it in the patient benefit. One of the best ways to enhance the value of your practice is to really focus on how do you best serve your patients? How do you provide the highest quality dental care and the best possible experience? Those things will enhance the value of your practice. So they're not mutually exclusive.
Right.
In other words, to have a very valuable practice is not mutually exclusive with also having a very patient-centric practice. They go hand in hand. I'm going to argue that they need to be, both of them need to occur. We need to have a focus on our patients, both the clinical dentistry and also the quality of the experience, in order to raise the value of the practice. So it's not a zero-sum game where you have to give up one to get the other. They have to be done in concert with each other. So let's talk about those 4 exit strategies. There may be more, Naren, but most of those, if I think of other ones, they tend to be variations of these. So I'm going to number these 1 through 4. They're not numbered in order or priority. They're just numbered to make sure I cover all of them. Number 1 would be a traditional exit strategy. The age old from the dawning of time would be that a dentist sells his or her practice to another dentist as a job for the other dentist stepping into your shoes. Typically, you'll engage a broker, and the broker will guide you through that transition, and your practice will be worth a certain amount that way. That's the age-old way. Up until maybe 15 years ago, that was the only path, that was available for most dentists. Today, there's more options, but that's the traditional path. Does that make sense, Dennis? Naren, that a dentist would think about transitioning the age-old way of finding a dentist to purchase your practice, likely through a broker. Does that make
Yes,
sense?
makes sense.
Now, let me go through all four of them, and then we'll talk about each one in a little bit more detail. Option number two would be to sell part of your practice. Sell part of your practice, likely to an associate doctor, or it could be someone outside of your practice that you bring in as a partner. And then the idea being that together you will continue to grow the practice and develop it even further. So sell part of your, but this is something that we did at LifeSmiles when we brought Dr. Tim in. Initially, Paul and I owned the practice 50-50. We brought Dr. Tim on initially as an associate. He was an associate for a year. And then we created a equity path for him. And he became an equity partner in 2015. We sold him part of the practice. So we diluted our shares from 50-50 to the new format involving, 3 owners. And I'm often asked, well, why would you want to own less of something? There's a concept in business that you never want to reduce your equity. I understand that, but there might be reasons to reduce your equity. And a simple reason would be a smaller piece of a larger pie can be worth more of the entire pie. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Absolutely. And then maybe there's some reasons for work-life balance to have a partner where you don't feel like you've got to carry all that burden yourself. So strategy number 2 would be sell part of your practice. This was something that was really amplified by the work that Mercer, some of you remember Mercer Global Advisors did under Imtiaz Manji. Imtiaz is a dear friend and very wise coach. And he advised many Mercer clients to sell part of their practice, take the proceeds from that sale and invest it, and allow this asset that you have to get an even greater return by investing those proceeds. And there were many, many, many dentists that followed that approach very successfully. So it's been done before, and it's been done very successfully. And I'll give Imtiaz a lot of credit for the really brilliant work he did with Mercer in that approach. Third approach, now have an open mind here, guys. Are the minds open? I couldn't hear it open. Did they open, Darren? The minds? Did you hear the
I
minds
think
open?
so. It's
You
open.
sure you didn't hear them close?
No, it's not
They're
closed.
open? Okay.
Yes.
So have an open mind. In the right situation, consider selling to a DSO. What did Gary just say? Darren, what did you hear me say?
In the right situation, consider selling to a DSO.
Sure. And let me frame it this way. Darren, among private practicing dentists, is it possible that there's some good ones?
Absolutely. There are great ones.
Is it possible there's some okay ones?
Yes.
Is it possible there's some schmucks? Now, they don't listen to the Thriving Dad show, so you don't have to worry about it, Aaron. The schmucks don't listen to the show because they don't do anything.
Yes.
So is it possible that among private practicing dentists, there's some schmucks?
Possibly, yes.
Okay. Is it also possibly true that among DSO, there's some good ones?
Yeah, I would hope so.
Is it possible there's some okay ones?
You probably are correct.
Is it possible there's some we should run away from as fast as possible?
Yes, I know
Yes.
some of them.
Yes.
Yes.
But yeah, there are some DSOs that may be an appropriate strategy for you. I'll go into that in a little more detail. And option number 4 is the no exit plan.
Right.
Don't sell. Just continue to own it and receive the benefits of an for it may be for a certain period of time. Maybe
Right.
you do that over maybe it's something you plan over the next 10, 12, 15 years. And maybe it goes on indefinitely. And maybe there's even a generational plan where you step aside at some point and bring in another family member or someone in your circle that you pass the asset to. There's the 4 plans. There's the 4 possible exit strategies. Number 1, sell traditionally, typically sold to another dentist as a job through a broker. Number 2, sell part of your practice and then grow it together. Number three, consider selling to a DSO. And number four, the no exit plan.